morning and welcome to DualiTea. I'm your host, Akasha, and today we are getting into the topic of how to get our mojo back. So, sometimes we go through life and there's different things that come up, especially when you're alive in 2021. There's a lot of things that are outside of your control, such as a global pandemic and things that are kind of making just the everyday to day a little bit more of a challenge in a way. So I feel like sometimes we can get lost in the sauce a little bit and lose senses at times, or not even necessarily lose senses, but just like forget that spark, that we have for life, that when we're looking forward to things, when we're moving forward and we're like, oh, well, I'm excited to achieve this goal, or I'm excited to do this and X, Y, Z. I feel, especially as of late, it's been a little difficult. I know for myself and for some of the peers around me, topic of discussion has been, how can we kind of get back to myself? Like, how can I kind of get back into being me, and allowing myself to thrive and get that zest of life back, because it's like there's been a lot of like dread and worry kind of going on. And when that is heightened, I find that sometimes there's a lack of motivation that might come up, or, just kind of that lost feeling and that drained feeling. And also it's like exhausting, to feel as if, not even feel as if you have to be on all the time or have that aspect of you all the time. Because there's something, like there was a story recently, I had gotten a reading from actually someone who's going to be on the podcast next week, which we'll get into, who's an incredible reader I've been going to since I'm like 15. I go to get my like quarterly check-ins with her, and I was due for it, so I went. And she told me this story where she said that, there was this woman in a village many years ago, and she had gotten, like her husband had left her, and it was just her and her baby. And she had no money or nothing, and the landlord, came to collect money from them the next day. And when he had came, she was like, I don't have anything. Like, my husband just left. Like, everything's chaotic. Like, I'm figuring it out. Like, I'm a child. He's like, okay, like, I don't really care about all that. I need my money. If you don't have my money, like, you need to go. So she put her baby on her back, and she went to the next town, and she stumbled across a house, and the house happened to be a person who was a reader. The person was like, listen, like, I'm going to feed you. I'm going to tell you what you need to do, and then you got to go out and you got to do it. So the reader looked and was like, you need to knock on every door and go to every space and just keep asking for a job. Keep asking for a job until you don't have like until you don't have any more houses anymore. Like, you will find a job. You just keep on needing to go. You're going to have doors slammed on you. It's going to seem like no one's going to answer, but you will find it. Finally, she finds a job. And in that job, she's getting like the worst work, like okay, you got to clean toilets, you got to do this, you got to do that. But something that the reader said, no matter what job you get, do it with your whole heart. Try to find excitement and remember that you getting a job is better than the life that you were living the day before. And it's that much closer to the goal that you're trying to achieve. So bring that gratitude into there. And as long as you do that, you will be successful. Just making sure that you constantly remind yourself every time you work that you have the honor and the privilege to work and to do that. And to really just do that with excitement and joy and bring that energy towards it. And so the woman that she worked for was like, I don't understand. Like, I'm having you clean toilets or do this on third, and you're like happy. Like, and you're giving such like positive energy and reinforcement back. And she's like, yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And, because the woman's like, why are you doing all that? And she's like, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful you took me and my child and all this, that, other. Woman's like, you know what? Do you sew? And she's like, nah, but if you teach me, I'll learn. She's like, okay. I'm going to teach you how to sew. She teaches her how to sew. She sews a beautiful dress. Now her and the woman are like, all right, you know what? We're going to do 50-50. You're going to be my partner. You can get 50% of the business and I'll get 50% of the business. Long story short, they end up becoming very successful, having a really great like garment store, and the woman ends up getting her own house across the street from where the other woman was living. So moral of the story is that no matter what, is going on, to do our best to like go back into that sense of gratitude and find that energy that we tend to like leave. I know that sometimes we work jobs that feel like it's draining our souls and like pulling us out of our spirit. And if you really feel that way, then I truly feel like then maybe the time is up at that job and it's time to move forward into another space and believing in yourself and the opportunities, not locking yourself in. And then other times it's like maybe you need to get a promotion. Maybe you need to talk to your boss. Maybe you need to sit with yourself and reevaluate, like, when did I lose my excitement? And I feel like it's a little bit more difficult to discern now in this day and age with the amount of things that are going on in our external world. But at the same token, it's like, okay, what am I passionate about? Anytime we feel like we lost our mojo, it's like, okay, well, what am I passionate about? What is exciting me now? Because that's going to change. Like, you could have been excited about this project that you had a few months back, but now that really isn't important to you because maybe throughout that time and this time, events have happened that showed you that you are actually more passionate about something in a completely different field. And it's okay. It's okay to leave something behind, but commit to moving forward. Not just allowing yourself, oh, okay, I'm going to beat myself up because I didn't get to complete this project. If you're meant to complete it, you will come back to it. What do you want to do right now? And then stick to that. Don't keep jumping and jumping. Like, I'm the queen of that. So I really understand, what that is and how that can impede on your end game, right? If you're just starting a bunch of projects and you're not finishing them, it feels like you're doing nothing. And because you're just going little here, little there, little here, little there, and you're not bringing things to fruition. So it could be a little like, I know for myself, like I could get ashamed of that. Like, I'm like, why didn't I finish this? Why did I start 10 more things if I didn't finish this one thing? It's like the same thing sometimes with sauces. Like I was just saying the other day with hot sauce, because I really love this particular hot sauce. And I go on kicks where I really like particular things. And like right now, I have like this one hot sauce in general that I really like to put on everything. And I ran out of it. And I'm like, oh, I want to go buy a new one. Like I looked in my fridge. Like I have 5 other hot sauces. Like all different types, given like you got your Sriracha, of course. You got your Red Hot. I have like 3 ones from Colombia. I have this other one from Jamaica. I have a few different ones, you know what I'm saying? They have different roles they play with different food. But I immediately was like, oh, I need to go get the other one. And I was like, wait, let me just finish the ones I have in the fridge. Like, why am I going to go and get something completely brand new that just because I'm comfortable with it? Just why am I going to replenish that just because I'm fixated on it? I can utilize what I have. And I feel like that has been the theme, and that has been a really big part of like the energy and why I've even wanted to talk about this topic in particular, getting our mojo back, is like that's where I feel like I've been in the past, little while, is just like coming back to what projects excite me and what do I want to delegate and put my time into. And I feel like I wanted to share that for anybody else who resonates with that, at any point of their path, whether it's now or, maybe it's in a month, but this podcast finds you or you find it and you can be like, oh, wow, like I resonate. I'm not alone with that. And, that's kind of the objective. And also to just kind of pray to whatever is supposed to come out. So, whatever anyone needs to hear may be heard and felt and seen and validated so that we can encourage each other to move forward, because right now more than ever is when we really need people to be in their roles. And what do I mean by that is like really doing what they are meant to do. I truly believe that everybody is here not by accident, but for a reason. And it's up to us to figure that out. Like, how do you figure out your purpose? Or it doesn't necessarily have to be your purpose and your end all, or, but how do you figure out what you're supposed to be doing right now? Let's say more like generalized. And it's like, what I truly believe is, if you have a God-gifted talent, you can paint really good. You can rap really good. You can make beautiful art with your hands. You can do pottery, whatever it is. You can speak really well. You can articulate yourself really well. You have a bond with children. You have a bond with animals. Whatever you feel is something that you are just naturally gifted in. I truly believe that you are supposed to really expand on that, and see, okay, well, what can I do with this? Or what feels good with doing this? Like, okay, the more you start to expand that, even if you're doing it in your house, even if you're sitting at home, like, okay, well, I draw, so I'm going to start drawing. Okay, well, I do poetry, so I'm going to start writing poems. When you open up that gate for yourself, that's going to start attracting. Even if you're at home, you might get a text message, you might get a phone call from someone who's like, yo, someone needs a poetry person to come through and like speak at this open mic. You want to do that? And then boom, there's your opportunity. There's your alignment, right? So it's like getting your mojo back. In other words, it's like falling back into alignment, or finding balance, which is just every theme of the show. But I wanted to really focus more on like bridging the gap between like feeling guilty when you ride astray, and then you notice and you're like, yo, I haven't felt like myself in a minute. Like, what's going on? Or like, I feel like I've been in this negative aspect, or like in a pessimistic place, and you're more optimistic. Or once you start noticing yourself like paying more attention to shit that you don't like about people, that's a red flag for you to like, and an invitation for you to go back into yourself and really like ask, like, okay, what am I focusing on? Like, what am I focusing on, and why am I focusing on it? Like, why am I focusing on the negatives and everything around me and near me? Like, what is the purpose in doing that? And a lot of the times that unintentionally or subconsciously is a way to keep us kind of like, in that comfort zone of discomfort, of feeling discontent, or, not, or feeling comfortable, rather than when you're taking risks and you're pursuing things and you're taking chances and you're in alignment, you're like kind of swinging from one monkey bar to the next, or you're in that leap of faith, or whatever that looks and feels like for you. It's like, that can be scary, and then that could trigger PTSD within our being. That can trigger anxiety, or some kind of coping mechanism that makes us want to distract or evade from something. Like, oh no, that's too good to be true. Like, I can't trust that, because if I trust that, and if that hurts me, then that's gonna hurt me, and then that's gonna set me back even more. Or whatever it is that we tell ourselves, whatever it is our body is responding, our nervous system is having a reaction to. It's important to meet that with compassion, because if we meet it with aggression, if we're constantly meeting it with judgment, we're going to continue to reflect that on the external world, start judging everybody else for what they're doing, what they're not doing. And, just seeing when you start to be more in that bitter place that is so easy to fall into. It is so much easier to literally look at somebody and have a conversation and be like, ugh, Monday, right? Am I right? Or yeah, I have to go to work, how that is, like on a Sunday. It's so much easier to complain than to move into and uplift somebody and uplift yourself. But once it's done, it's easeful and just like opens up the threshold for so much more good, and so much more fertile ground to create. I'm a firm believer in holy destruction. Like, we do need to destroy too, but to like nitpick is another thing. And it's like, oh, look at this person doing this. Like that's without integrity, or that's without that. And that might be completely valid. But if you're sitting there hyper fixating on it and you're not doing anything about it, then what the fuck are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really talking about? It's what the aggravation that you have that you're not doing something, that you're not getting something done, and it's like, okay, boom, you realize that, okay, don't get embarrassed, okay, don't stay in the shame, move through it. You're right. Why am I upset about this? Maybe it's because I know and I feel that I can do it better, or I know and I feel that I can just do it. It doesn't have to be better or less, I can do that, and I can feel good about that and move forward with something in the same field. And maybe that's why it's triggering me. Maybe every time I see somebody that is doing something, whether just doing something, you know what I mean? It doesn't even have to be what it is that they're doing. When they're doing something, whether it's good or bad, the best thing that I feel can be done at this point with my observations has been like, if you don't resonate with something, you don't like something, you just don't give it your attention. Okay, now moving forward, if you are triggered by something and you ask yourself why, and you come to that clear understanding that, maybe I'm triggered by this because I really feel like I'm not doing anything, I'm in this stagnant place and I want to move forward. And I'm going to give myself permission to move forward, because if I continue to just bash the situation, I'm just going to stay comforted in the disconnect. It's like, I'm really blessed. I have such an incredible friend. Like, shout out to my friend Bree. I love you so much. Like, yesterday I was having a conversation with her, and I don't know what I was saying, but she said just like, yo, like, why don't you put this on your Etsy store? Like, you have all, you do all these things and you have it, and it's incredible, and what your product is and your things that you do are incredible, but you need to put it out there. Like, you get it done and then you don't put it out there. You just do kind of like word of mouth. And I definitely do. Like, I definitely have been a word of mouth person. Like, bless, the people that do know what I do and that do hit me up for it is a beautiful thing. But and she said that, and it's been something I've been sitting with for the past like 2 weeks or so. Why is it such a struggle for me to like put things out there fully, onto the internet or onto just a space that more people have accessibility? And besides it being like lack of control, it's just like, it's it definitely, or like fear of success, and it's definitely those things like that I'm navigating towards, I'm navigating through, is like, or navigating from even. All I needed in a moment was to be supported, and I don't feel like that's something that happens that often, especially to that extent, that emotional support. Other support might happen, the physical, the financial, the mental, or whatever the case is, but like this emotional and mental support in like perfectly designed for me, knowing how I operate, was such a sense of relief and compassion. Like, it was inspiring, and it was just like a moment that we had. She's like, yo, like, you'll do so good at it. Like, you can, it wasn't like, why aren't you doing it? She's like, more of a suggesting, like, here, step by step, like, here, you can do that. Like, all you need to do is like put it on your Etsy and do this and do that. And it's just the tone, it's the energy. It wasn't this like aggressive, like, why aren't you doing this? You're wasting your talent. What the fuck is wrong with you? I don't need anybody to say that to me when I'll sit there and I'll say that to myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's ever going to say something to me, especially when it comes to like tough love or being hard on me, that I don't already do to myself. So when someone gives that gentle compassion externally, it's a reminder for me to give myself that gentle compassion internally. And like even her just saying what she said, and I was like, wow, sometimes I just need somebody like on the phone or like somebody just there, and it really helps. And she's like, no, she's like, yeah, that's true. But I really just believe that you need to be supported. And I was like, wow. Like I started crying. Like it resonated so deeply. Like I instantly started getting choked up. I was like, yo, like it made me realize how much times that not only was I not supported emotionally, but how much I didn't support myself emotionally. And then that also shined the light on why is it that I really find so important to support other people emotionally. Like I've always found that to be like super, super important within my friendships, my dynamics, even if it's a stranger on the street. Like if I see something I resonate with it, I'm so supportive. I will hype you up till I'm blue in the face. And it's like, no wonder why it's so important to me, because there's been such a lack of it in my reality that now I'm realizing, oh, okay, this is something that's needed to survive and to move forward. So within that conversation last night, like I was able to get so many different things done, just literally having someone root for me on my side, on my team. Like I feel like I get, not only me, but many people, it's so much quicker. You see the people that are doubting you. And sometimes that's your closest friends or your family, and it's not anything personal. It's their internal world reflecting on the external world, or maybe they mean well, but they don't know how to express a supportive way or be emotionally supportive too, because they're not emotionally supportive to themselves. So it's not like, oh, everybody's horrible and nobody could do it. It's more like some people have the capacity to and other people don't, and that's okay. And to find it within ourselves, like this, it was just a beautiful moment where it just like clicked something in my head, where it's like in that space that I would bash myself in usually a conversation when someone asked me like, oh, why didn't you, for example, I have soaps, Moldavite soaps that I made, and I haven't put them up yet. And it's like, they're like, why wouldn't you put them up? Like, people would love to get that. That's such an incredible product, And I'm like, well, there's many different reasons why, and I'm working on that and through that. But also, I have to trust the fact, because I get concerned. Like, Moldavite's a very big energy. I'm almost like scared that people, are going to experience that. And it's really incredible that we have the moment. I'm sorry. I'm gonna read this. I never thought to give myself that gratitude internally after, oh, it is gone now. Okay, it's back. I never thought to give myself that gratitude internally after receiving externally big disconnect with my outer and inner. Yeah, I felt the same way. Thank you, Jason, and thank you for tuning in. I felt the same way. Like when that happened yesterday, I was like, did I just level up? Like, did I just evolve? You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I felt it, I really did. And that's why I'm like happy. What's good, Alex? It's like, something that I feel is super important to share too. Like it was the perfect timing. I'm like on the phone yesterday crying to my friend, like, ugh, this is so much. Thank you for the love. Like, I don't even know how to process this. Like, my body instantly went into my eyes watering, and it was just a beautiful love that, hi, thank you for tuning in. And I was just like, it's something that was really beautiful and so in alignment with even today with this podcast. How do you find your mojo back? Well, we can sit and ponder and think about time and time again. Where did I lose it? Why did I lose it? How could I ever lose my zest for life? How could I ever lose my spark? Where did it go? How can I retrieve it? And you can sit there and like worry on that, or there's the other aspect of having compassion for the time and the space that your spark couldn't really exist in a space that it felt it needed to be protected. Like no one can see that light when it needed to be sheltered, right? So if you're like, I don't know, the first thing that came to my mind is like, say you're lighting something, you're going to smoke, right? And you have to cover the lighter because the wind is coming. So something is coming, so you have to protect and shelter it from it. But if there was no wind, you could just light it, right? And then everybody would hear and see the spark. But the spark is hidden because why? There's an external force that's kind of coming. And that external force could very well be a manifestation of what your internal world is experiencing. So if you're like beating yourself up all the time, yeah, maybe the world's going to feel like it's beating you up too, because we're kind of creating that micro and macroverse, you know? So it's, when we have that understanding that we do that, I feel like that's when we get reminded of our power, in that sense of like, with everything that's going on in the world and us getting concerned and worried, being like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How can I do this? I'm a business owner. How can I not have people come in? Oh, I'm a person that wants to be vexed. You know, how can people not get vexed? I'm a person that doesn't want to be vexed. You know, how can people force me to get it? There's so many different perspectives that are going on in the world. What can we do? What's the best thing that we can do? I feel like it's going into our internal world and have that reflect in our external world. How? When we go into our internal world and we're sitting with what feels right and what doesn't feel right, even when it feels like we can't control nothing, only thing we can control and resonate and work with is our internal world. So when we sit down, and whether you call it prayer or meditation or just sitting down with yourself, just sitting with it for a moment, in that is where you can navigate. That is your safe space to figure out whatever, anything life throws at you or anything you throw at yourself. That's where you can unpack it and safely move forward. Okay, what's going on? Why am I thinking about this? Or it's when when we have the thought of like something that bothers us and we're like, nah, get that away from me. I'm not trying to I don't even want to ever think about that. Why is that coming to my head? Like, there's some times where we have to navigate in that space because we literally don't have the capacity, the space, or the time to move through that. But then be realistic with yourself. If you have the space and the time to do other things, there is a space and a time where you can navigate through that as well. And that is where we find our balance. And that is where I truly believe that the incredible people in the world, the Jesuses, the Mohammeds, the Martin Luther Kings, the incredibly powerful and inspirational people that have led and made such huge impacts on humanity have found their calling. Isn't through going and looking for something outside of themselves that they don't have, but it's about going inside themselves and seeing what it is that they do have and how that they can like amplify that and give that to the world and bring that to the external. You know, the world doesn't need anything else. What it needs is for us to kind of like take away things. So like we have, for example, we exist. We are needed. What we're not needed in is us and our pain body not navigating in our purpose or our place or our God-given gift or talent or creator-given, abilities. And so it's, once again, not about what can you gain. It's about what can you let go. What can you let go to bring something to its purest source? What is it that can connect you to your purest source of yourself and of the creator or wherever belief system that you believe into? Is it taking away TV? Is it maybe not hanging out as much and spending a little bit more time with yourself? Is it taking that moment to literally do nothing but give yourself your undivided attention? Really asking yourself these questions and then working with them, trying them out, You want to get your mojo back? You got to go within. You got to find where is the supply, because you are the manufacturer, you're the distributor. Where does it lie within your being? What is your mojo. In my perspective, it's a little potion bottle of all of your passions, you know, and you can take that out and you'd be like, yo, here's my mojo, right? But the stream is within you and it's everlasting. You know, it could seem like we could shut the valve off, but we could always turn it back on. It's within us. It is embodied in us. It is just as we are 70% water, or we have blood, like it is a part and an element that creates the puzzle piece of us, of the human that we are. So now, how can we unlock that? You know, it's going to look and feel different for everybody, but I truly believe that the same and the common denominator is always going to be returning back to yourself, and whatever that looks like. You know, you might be a person that likes to go outside and hike, you know, make that time. Like, you got to treat yourself and your mental health and your emotional need and care like a priority, like as if it's your job. You have to fit that in. You know, you have to fit that in by, you know, if you don't, then like time will only make that for you. By unfortunately, and not to wish this upon anyone, it's just something that you see so often is like the physical manifestation of either getting sick or something happening that sits your ass down and is like, yo, here. And I kind of feel like in a big way, not to say that this is the reason that COVID happened, but it's one of the things that happened from it, a product from it was, you know, how many people in the world have been avidly distracting themselves and disassociating from all of these different things within their being. And so many people that aren't living in their truth. The whole universe was like, sit down. You know, the earth is like, sit the fuck down. You're literally killing me. Like, I'm about to implode on you. I'll figure it out. What are you doing? And it's like, you know, we wouldn't necessarily have that amount of, maybe some people who hyperfixate on that or pay attention to that, but the global awareness would not like have the awareness of the different states of where we're at if we all didn't sit down like, okay, here, boom. You're not out in the streets. You're not out at the club every weekend. You're not over here doing this. Like, you don't even have accessibility for that. And then the more things are getting restricted, the more that's happening. And you know what? There's one or two things that are going to happen. There's going to be more people that have more time to sit with themselves. And they're going to walk in their power. And people are going to rise together and do what it is that needs to be done for all of us to embody and inspire and do what we are set on earth to do. And or, you know, the other aspect, which is, you know, could be a lot of things, but isn't that, right? We don't got to get into the existential dread. That's what we're moving out of. And not to disassociate from it, but the reality is like, what are we going to do? We are at such a pinnacle moment in fucking history. Like, we are going to read about this time for the rest of our lives. Now, what are we going to do? What side of history do you want to be on? Like, your position could be very different than the next person's position. And that's never to have any guilt or feeling like you might be the protester. The other person might be the graphic designer for the protest. Know your part. Embody it. Do it. You're needed. Find your mojo. You're needed. You need to contribute to that. You know what I'm saying? Not only for the world, but for yourself. You'll feel better. If you're not feeling good, what is it that you're not doing that you're passionate about, that you literally feel like you're supposed to be doing that isn't happening? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, find that. Make that an obligation and that a priority because you're so needed. We all are. Right now, especially at any other point of our lives, like if it's right now, like I'm really, really encourage each and every person to listen to themselves, to listen to their body. Even in simple things. The other day, my body was like, throw these eggs out. I was like, I know that's kind of a waste, but like, I'm like, there's something wrong with the eggs. Maybe if I eat these eggs, I'm going to get sick. And it didn't feel like I wasn't like paranoid. I didn't read nothing about eggs. Nothing happened like that. But I trust my intuition. At this point in my life, I've been dragged time and time again for not doing it. So I learned a little bit, at least, that when I felt it, because every time I would go to touch the eggs, like, or like go to make someone with an egg, like, I would feel nauseous, like almost like I was going to gag. And I was just like, oh, no, we're not doing that. We're getting these, because there's also a different brand that I don't normally get. So I was like, you know, I'm putting these away. I'm going to give them back to the earth, you know, and that's that. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. Because what if I didn't? What if I didn't do that? What if I got sick? God forbid I got, like, salmonella or something, you know? I'm not trying to risk that. I truly believe that, and that goes for everything, you know? If you're nervous about, say, getting sick, and not only with the vid, but, like, with other things, you know, we're in the seasonal changes. We're starting to get into that seasonal change kind of place where, like, people do get sick, besides the fact that, you know, we're in a pandemic. Like, there's other viruses and bacteria that goes around, and, you know, allergies, things of this sort. So if you're nervous, say, just for an example, listen to yourself. Ask yourself, should I go here right now? Do I have any business going to the supermarket right now? Do I have everything I need? Continuously going back to asking ourselves, do I have everything I need? Why am I looking outside of myself? What is it that I actually want? Am I distracting myself? Or, you know, do I need to look for something internally? Like, am I going outside for something that I should really be going inside for? You know, and just ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself and be honest with yourself. If you're like, why am I going to the supermarket? I just went a few days ago. Like, what? Because I need one thing? Do I really need it that bad? I have 7 other things that I could cook right now. Do I need it that bad? Why do I think I need it that bad? Because I'm going to get endorphins from getting it? Because I'm going to get a high-rise dopamine level because I purchased something that I want to get? Or maybe that's something, especially if it's food, something that I'm going to get, like, you know, a brain buzz off of? Because it makes me feel good, because I feel worthy when I get myself things, because maybe that's something that I was shown in my life, that if I get something that I'm worthy, you know? Okay, where does that come from? How can I reroute that? How about I'm worthy because I'm going to work with what I got? I always think that it's so dope when someone has like 2 things in their cabinet and they make a bomb-ass meal. Why don't you be that person? You know? And that applies to everything. Oh, I need to get a new outfit. I'm not even trying to. Why are you trying to get a new outfit? You don't have enough clothes? You can't figure out a situation for that event? Or what are you looking for? You know? And it's not to judge yourself for that, but it's to support yourself in that. And that has been the level up, and that has been the difference. And that's something that I've been kind of like sitting with, and something that really expanded yesterday on the conversation that I had with Bree. Like, how can I gift myself in a better reward system than I have in the past? Because, like, these temporary things, like, okay, oh yeah, you know, I ate good today, I'm going to have ice cream. That's a temporary feel-good thing. That's not a long-term feel-good thing. Like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to, you know, let myself have a drink tonight because I haven't did this or whatever, or I did this or whatever the case is. And yes, you can do these things. And yeah, especially in moderation, like, of course, you know, but what would it look like if instead of doing these more like, oh, I'm going to give myself this toxic thing, what if we changed the narrative and gave ourselves a reward system where it's like, I'm going to gift myself this thing that's like actually good for me, for my future. If I, you know, am not feeling up to, say, getting a new job, say I need to get a new job, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not really feeling up for that. Like, I can gift myself, rather than like coping and being on a couch or like turning the TV on or swiping through your phone, is like, I'm going to give myself what the idea is, that to maybe complete an idea that I've been working on and believe myself in it, that I could succeed. I will start my own business. Even if that's a little Etsy shop, I will promote myself. Even if that's just one step, going online and looking at a domain. It's the baby steps that are geared towards the long-term support of yourself. You know, if someone tells me that they want to do something, I could sit with them and step by step help them, and it will be so clear and decisive too. Like, I like very like, okay, I know exactly what's the word? Not decisive. Well, decisive too, but certain, like very clear. Like, okay, boom. This is step 1, step 2. But it's always a lot more difficult when it comes to yourself. You know? So why not find that, like, tune into that mojo to find what you can do to inspire you to make your dreams come true. Because you deserve to do that. And you need it. You're needed to do that. Like, and I know it's a lot easier said than done, but does it have to be? You know, if we get ourselves out of our mind, does it have to be? Sorry, I was talking a while. I just want to take a sip of my tea real quick. Because like my tea says, the only thing in life that's constant is change. So what might have balanced you or motivated you in the past might just not do it for you anymore. You are evolving. You are changing. Now it's up to you to keep tabs on that. The same way when, say, Instagram, like an app changes, and you're on it, boom, oh, I noticed this change. Boom, okay, now I'm adapting to it. Why don't we do the same things with ourselves? What does it take for us to give ourselves that attention to that capacity? Oh, I've updated. What do I do to support this system? Okay? Like, it's like you know your phone's reloaded. It's updated on a new system. Are you still running on the system prior? Because then you're going to have a lot to catch up on. You want to match it. You want to match your internal with your external with your internal. And constantly thrive for that change. Be excited about that change. Something's changing, cool. I have the opportunity to level up. I have the opportunity to get out of my comfort zone, to move towards something, a pursuit that I'm supposed to do. I'm unlocking something. Even when things seem seemingly bad. Yeah, whatever. I'm going to go with that. When it seems like, what the fuck is going on? Like, everything is breaking down, or maybe this is too good to be true, or there's still a shift. That doesn't mean say yes to everything around you. Definitely means to observe. Sit with yourself. See what is needed from you. So get your mojo back. Go sit with a tree about it, you know? Go to the ocean about it.